Good morning. My name is Ralf Friedrichs. I'm an addiction recovery coach, a life coach, and author, and the host of this show, the Take Your Life Back Today radio show. Also on the YouTube channel, Take Your Life Back Today show, you can see a video version of this show. Good morning, beautiful starting of a new week. Today's Monday. But what I want to talk about is why certain people don't acknowledge you. How important is it that you get the recognition from others? In many families, certain individuals praise others in the same set family more than others in that family. But why is that? I always ask myself that. Let's dive right into it now. More often than not, people don't, or maybe won't, acknowledge you for your contributions and accomplishments in life, which may seem a little strange since almost all of us harbor hopes for such recognition. One reason, perhaps, that the expression fishing for compliments is so well known. But though it might seem intuitive that people would be more than willing to give what they greatly appreciate getting themselves, this typically isn't the case. Assuming that you're like the majority of people, wishing, maybe even yearning, to be explicitly recognized for what you do relates to the fact that validation from others just feels good. I mean, we all like to have that. Reaching all the way back to childhood and your need for your parents to reassure you and give you their approval, being acknowledged by others helps you feel more accepted and secure. And listen, consequently, more comfortable inside yourself. More important still, such recognition assists you in perceiving yourself as desirable, valuable, and esteemable. In a word, special in one way or another, virtually everybody dreams of standing out, being admired, acclaimed, even well applauded. To be viewed and to view ourselves as merely average or adequate really doesn't do very much for us, or rather for our ego. And this may be all more so because we live in a notorious American Idol type society that refuses to celebrate or lavish praise on individuals unless they're judged exceptional. This circumstance explains why we may experience certain envy when we hear drums banging for someone else. Secretly, we long to hear a drum roll beating for ourselves. Granted, there may be an element inherent in our nature, grandiosity, no doubt, that makes us wish to be thought highly of. For when complimented, we're likely to glow internally. Appropriation from others whose authority we respect serves to verify ourselves a sense of inner worth, and such external approval is especially important for those still plagued by self-doubt. Unfortunately, master manipulators can take advantage of this almost universal susceptibility to compliments by employing them to seduce us into emptying out our wallets. As long as we're tricked into trusting their interrogating kudos, we're liable to be taken in by them. For to feel favorably recognized wonderfully addresses one of our heart's, ego's deepest desires, my friends. But, and probably much more often than not, the recognition that we hope for simply isn't going to happen. So when someone fails to acknowledge you, when you think that what you've done deserves acknowledgement, it's okay, wise, not to take this to heart. For various reasons. It's crucial that when you've executed something well, demonstrated a skill or talent, behaved generously or selfishly, you learn how to congratulate yourself. Pat yourself on the back. That way you can avoid the letdown, the frustration and discouragement or disgruntlement, and maybe even the anger that goes with that. Let others likely accompany your disappointment. Think of it. It always makes sense not to have to depend on others' reactions in order to regard yourself positively. Ideally, your goal should be to feel unconditionally good about who you are and independent of the external favorable meter, and also free of whether you're presently embarked on some course of self-improvement. What I like to suggest here is by better grasping the underlying causes of why so many people might resist offering you the acknowledgement you wish for. Their denial should be a lot easier to take. So consider some descriptions that I'm going to go over that explain why many people, including just possibly yourself or people in your family, can be so stingy with compliments. If they were recognition deprived as youngsters and growing up by either their parents or other siblings, more likely to criticize than to commend them. Praising another might feel uneasy or unsettling, and for reason that consciously they can only dim perceive. Bestowing on someone else the accomplishment they never received themselves might open a lid on long suppressed psychic pain, making them experience fresh, never healed emotional wounds. If they are competitive uh, because they need constantly to prove themselves, then explicitly paying tribute to another's achievements might make them feel as though they are admitting inferiority. A confession of failure their fragile ego might lack the strength to tolerate. Even beyond that, some individuals can only feel good about themselves by putting others down, in which case only compliments they are capable of are backhanded ones. If they think that another's accomplishments and or contributions, particularly their children, are no more than what ought to be expected from them, they might not regard such acts of accomplishment. Another one is if they believe or had drilled into them by praise withholding parents that lauding another for their achievements might go to the recipient's head. That is, lead them to become conceited, cocky, or egotistical. Then they may intentionally withhold recognition, and regardless of how much the situation might warrant it, if they're in denial about their own unmet need for accomplishments, it might not even happen to them that positively recognizes another one. And for that person's efforts a well accomplishment might be in order. For example, commending a friend when appropriate is responsibility, in fact, almost requirement in a close relationship, yet they're unable to do so. If they have a strong sense of entitlement because, say, their parents actually prompted them into believing that the privilege they received were actually rights, then whatever recognition they receive from others will be expected or taken for granted. And so any sense of obligation to respond in kind won't be part of their narcissistic behavioral repertoire. The actual won't even consideration sing appreciation, thanks, or gratitude when someone acts generously or kindly towards them. All of which is to say that you're not being acknowledged likely says much more about the other person than it does about you or your worthiness. So in such situations, you'll be far better off once you learn to be content simply through becoming more adept at self-acknowledgement. Call me at 844-405-HELP. Together we can acknowledge each other, praise each other, and help each other take our lives back. Be good to yourselves, be good to each other, and a simple smile will go a long way for you and for that stranger. And remember, it's always good to compliment somebody when you see them do something good in life. Don't be narrow-minded, only compliment certain people. Compliment anyone that you appreciate in your life.